Welcome everyone to this Linking and Learning web series, which is about social entrepreneurship and technology today. Thanks for joining us. Really happy to see so many participants here today. It's a pleasure to have you on the call, and we are really excited for the experts and participants of this panel today. I'm Joost Neumann, working with the TUI Care Foundation as the Head of Economic Development, and I will just do some technical housekeeping before we get started. So please keep your microphone muted at all times, but we encourage you to actively use the chat. Post your questions, post your comments, post links that you deem relevant for this conversation. Definitely mingle and communicate nicely during the chat. We will get back to your questions at the end of the panel. But keep the microphone muted as throughout the whole panel. Please note also that we will record this session as we envision to create a short summary video of this after all for communication purposes. So in case you would not like to be seen, switch off your camera at all times as well, or let us know if you don't agree with this recording. We will go ahead recording anyways for now. Then we will start this whole panel with a short introduction to the topic by our moderator, and I introduce her briefly. Claudia Brötzel is a professor for marketing and e-commerce and tourism at the University for Sustainable Development in Eberswalde, Germany, where she teaches in the class of Sustainable Tourism Management. She's also the director of the education at the International Federation of IT and Travel and Tourism, and she has been a social entrepreneurship advocate for a very long time, seeing innovation and social entrepreneurship as core features to the future of sustainable tourism. She has founded 2 years ago the social entrepreneurship competition in tourism and brought together strong partners in Germany and beyond to promote social entrepreneurship in destinations and across the globe as a whole. So thanks and welcome, Claudia, to joining us here. We are really happy to have you, and thanks for moderating this panel for us as a long-standing expert. Claudia will now go ahead and provide you with the brief introduction into the whole subject. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joost. Thanks for inviting me here. It's a great pleasure for me to join this discussion and to moderate it. I'm very happy to get some new insights in what you are all doing. So we prepared some slides. Joost, can you share the slides now?
I can't share the slides, and I forgot something. I'm super sorry. We're creating a short poll. We're asking the audience to respond to one question before we start. I totally forgot about that. There you go. It's already popping up. So please be encouraged to respond to this so we get a little bit of a feeling of who is joining this call and what their interest is. Okay, I'm responding. Done. Okay.
Great.
Then, awesome. This is an interesting result. So we have 30% social entrepreneurs, 36% who are not social entrepreneurs, 14 are interested in starting a social enterprise, and 18 are working with social entrepreneurs. Thank you. That's interesting. And we'll now go ahead with the slides. Veronica, are you sharing those or should I? Silence. Okay, I'll go ahead and share those. Oh, there they are. Okay, no worries.
Okay, great. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but we were discussing that yesterday, that we should start with a very, very short introduction. And as I can see now, most of you are in that business already. So let's go ahead quickly. Joost, can you go to the second slide, please? So we prepared that definition from OECD. Social entrepreneurship can be defined as an entrepreneurship that aims to provide innovative solutions to unsolved social problems. Therefore, it often goes hand in hand with social innovation process aimed at improving people's life by promoting social challenges. You can also say that the old business idea of scaling a business or business of scale changes at the moment to business of speed, because speed is that what we need in an innovation process. So we have 3 dimensions. This is societal, governance, and innovation. And innovation is a very important aspect in this definition. Next slide, please. It's all about impact. So normally you are thinking when you start a business, you are thinking about how can I make money? But when you are a social entrepreneur, normally you are thinking about how can I have an impact on the society? This means you put time and money in. Output could be activities occur as planned, or target group is reached, target group accepts your offer. I'm sure we hear some examples now and later in this session about target groups who accepting what's offered. And the outcome is that the target group changes mindset, or gains skills, or changes behavior. This is what we are aiming with this social entrepreneurship. Or the life circumstances of the target group are changing, and this means this is the impact of a society change. Next, please. So what you probably don't know, we put together some facts. The scale in the Netherlands and Belgium, non-profit account for 50.9, nearly 60%, and 31% of employment, which is higher than the restaurant sector. In France, the social economy represents 10% of the GDP, and in Germany, it's around the same size as the automotive industry. It is a very diverse sector. The social impact and leaving a positive footprint in the world appeals to everyone. 40% of social enterprises in UK are led by women, and 31% have Black, Asian, or minority ethnic directors. 40% have a director with a disability. This is really something we should have in mind, that it is something that is applicable to everybody. The growth, 60% of US-based social enterprises were created in 2006 or later. This means it is a very new development. With 29% created since 2011. This speaks volumes to rapid transformation in the economy that seems to favor the development of social innovation-oriented business models. Next, please. And this is our competition, and I would just highlight some figures, because it shows that the figures we just talked about is the same experience we made this year. It was our 2nd year with the social entrepreneurship competition in tourism. We had 82 applications, 24 finalists in the 2nd round, over 670 community votes, and 55 applicants were female and 27 men. So 63% comes out of the female social entrepreneurship movement. We had 41% BIPOC and 39 from 39 unique countries. Thanks. So this is what I want to finish with. Social entrepreneurship takes place when a social value proposition, a solution of some kind, provides wide-scale, lasting systems change for the benefit of society. This quote is from the founder of iStrat Foundation for Social Investment. Thank you. Okay, Joost, if I'm right, we can start now with the discussion. Is that?
Please.
Okay, thanks. So thank you very much for the possibility to give this short introduction. And I would like to start now with our speaker here. I would like to ask them in 1 or 2 minutes to introduce themselves. And this is, first we start with, sorry, where's my first? We start with Sanne Meyeboom. Sorry if I pronounce your name not really right. She's the founder and the CEO of I Like Local. Then we go ahead with Etienne Salborn, founder of Social Innovation Academy. And then last but not least, Francesco Rocca, managing director of the Impact Hub in Lisboa. And I would like to answer just these questions: who you are and why you are a social entrepreneur, and what is your social enterprise about. Maybe you can just go ahead in 1 to 2 minutes. Thanks. Sanne, we start with you.
Yeah, shall I start? So my name is Sanne, originally from the Netherlands, but have lived across the globe. And I'm running I Like Local, which I started in 2014, really out of my own passion for meeting different cultures and providing benefits for local people and local communities in developing countries. So I Like Local is a travel marketplace where we connect travelers with local people in Asia and Africa, really to provide travelers with more authentic travel experiences and local people and local communities with a source of income. So that's briefly who I am and what I'm doing.
Thank you very much, Sanne. We go ahead with Etienne.
Yeah, hi, I'm Etienne Salborn. I'm calling in from Uganda. I'm originally from Germany, but I've been living here in Uganda on and off since 2006 and now permanently since 2013. And I founded the Social Innovation Academy, or in short, SINA, which is enabling youth from marginalized and difficult backgrounds, as well as refugees, to create social enterprises, to unleash their potentials and create social enterprises. And many have emerged, some of them as well in the tourism sector. And SINA, as well as a social enterprise, is or used to have a lot of revenue coming in from the tourism industry as well, hosting guests and other activities, and also offering travelers an opportunity to integrate into the community and engage with our social entrepreneurs. Yeah, that's about me.
Thank you very much. Great that you're here, Etienne. I think we hear a lot of examples later also from your side. Francesco, can you please jump in and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Claudia. Yeah, here's Francesco from Lisbon. I've been working in the last 5 years at the Impact Hub here, managing the space in Lisbon. We're part of a global network, which is the Impact Hub network. And we're now in 100 different cities where we manage a space which fosters collaboration and is the place where we hope social entrepreneurs starts in the city. So what we do is not only offer a space to run events that are focused on the topic of impact and sustainability. We also offer to impact-based projects a space to work. This could be a co-working. And then our main business, it's running acceleration and incubation programs focused on impact. And this is where we believe it's important to have this local and global approach where we are locally based in every city, but then we aim at scaling impact globally. And this is the work I've been doing here in the last years. And thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you, Francesco. So this is really great that we have very different aspects of this topic, social entrepreneurship. And I would like to give one question to you all for the starting. This is hosted by the TUI Care Foundation. So we are in the tourism business. So do you think that tourism as an industry is very appropriate or suitable to make let's say an impact on or on social impact? I would like to start with Sanne, because you are doing really a tourism business.
Yes. Well, like when we launched I Like Local, that was exactly one of the issues that we noticed. Like the travel industry is one of the largest industries worldwide, but it's also true that a lot of marginalized communities are not really benefiting from tourism income in their countries. And by creating, in our case, a marketplace that is accessible to anyone, we thought to tackle two problems as one. On the one hand side, we noticed that there was a change in travelers' needs and behaviors of the tourist trail, not feeling to be like a tourist, but at the other hand, this issue with how can we create a more equal sharing economy in the tourism industry. And I think when looking back, I think we were pretty early, 2014. I think we were just at the beginning of the starting point where travelers were having that need. And I think secondly, although sustainable travel was there already for a very long time, but that this issue or that this topic came more to light, I think that's has to do with a global change and a global need for enterprises in general to be more impactful, to be more sustainable, to rethink their business models, to rethink their processes. And I think this is now coming, and especially now during this time, it's all coming together. And of course, we don't know exactly how the travel industry will be shaped after post-COVID. But I think this will definitely be somehow the direction that we are going to.
Mm-hmm. So if I can step in here, and then I would also like to hear Etienne and Francesco about the tourism industry. But you used COVID-19, and this is what makes me okay. We have to talk about technology. So what really the boost of the last month is that everybody is using online technology, and that the travel industry is really hardly on the ground at the moment. Don't you think that the technology can solve a lot of problems also for, let's say, your business, or in your case, Etienne, to reach out to potential customers and stay there with them, as what we have seen in the last month?
Yeah, yes, I definitely do think that as we are an online business from the start, so technology was always the base for what we are doing. And it's I think technology is a great accelerator for creating scale and to reaching a global market. We also noticed some challenges in terms of technology and using the internet, especially when you're targeting these more marginalized communities who often maybe have less access to internet or English language skills. So for us, we started looking into this virtual experiences that was started by, I think, Airbnb in the beginning of April. We started testing that out to see to what extent that could be a solution for some of the people that we work with, and yeah, here you can see that some are not really familiar or well, I don't want to say capable, but they are a bit behind in using all these technologies and skills, so they need a bit more support in order to be able to use that properly.
Yeah, thank you, Sanu. Etienne, what about Uganda? So do you think technology is also a very important tool that helps you in your business to get things done, that social entrepreneurs can really come up with their businesses?
Yeah, I think technology is everywhere, and everybody that we work with is learning about it, especially since we're working with very marginalized communities that often are not yet even familiar with computers at all. However, we are not having kind of something that we're building on as technology. We're using technology, we're using booking platforms, we're using Google AdWords and things like that. However, I think we're not so much focused on technology, but I want to give one example of a social enterprise that is using tourism, and I think that's for me the power of it, because in general, I'm a bit skeptical about because in the invitation it talked about as well scaling social enterprises, and especially in tourism, I've seen sometimes negative effects. For me, scaling in tourism and sustainability or authenticity or responsibility don't go so well hand in hand. But where I see a lot of opportunities is to use the tourism industry kind of as a motor to drive development. So I want to give you one example as an enterprise that has come out of SINA. So a young lady that who herself suffered a lot from malaria as a child, and used that experience as a driving motor to create a solution. And today, just yesterday actually, she has been announced as one of the 10 top African business heroes. And she is producing a mosquito repellent soap, or her business is about producing a mosquito repellent soap. However, the cool side of it is that the problem that they're solving for tourists or hotels is that tourists as well have a lot of fear for malaria when they come to Africa. And the soap is protecting them or giving them an extra protection. And it's organic and natural, and it's also sustainable for the farmers that get an income producing the ingredients. However, then they're using the extra income they get from the tourism industry, because it has higher purchasing powers, to subsidize sales into the villages. And that's where the impact lies, because malaria is the biggest killer in Africa for children below 5 years. And they cannot afford the soap normally. But through subsidization from the sales of the tourism industry, they can offer the soap at the same price in the villages as any ordinary soap, but it has the added advantages of repelling mosquitoes. So the impact is being created. And I think there's the power if we find more business options, business opportunities that use the tourism industry to generate opportunities or drive development. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and that doesn't necessarily have to do so much with technology from my perspective.
Maybe technology, in your perspective, is just a tool to organize things, and it's not so much that the business cases that you are building up has to do with technology, if I got that right. But the example is really amazing. Thanks. Therefore, I would like to include also Francesco from this side. Francesco, do you have any experiences in your Impact Hub with the travel and tourism industry? Can you give us maybe an example if this is an industry, like Etienne says, which can create opportunities for social entrepreneurship?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I just wanted to go back to the topic that Etienne was mentioning of scaling, because I want to give maybe a small hint as well, because for me it's also one of those themes that has this dual side. Like, you know, every time you mention scaling, you think about the big multinational corporation moving from one country to like tons of countries and very centralized. And I think for me, it was a very important mind shift moving from the scaling we have as a preconcept like franchising or McDonald's or Uber or Airbnb to a model which is kind of decentralized and autonomous, and it's a lot about replicating something that works. Because I think here what we would like to see is that the repellent that was developed in one country can, thanks to the technology and the information, be also used in another place to kind of avoid the same problem to happen. And I think here it's important is the way we decided to scale. We don't want to scale it with them just trying to conquer other countries, but you want them to pass the knowledge and share openly the information for other people to do the same business locally. Because I think for me, what's important is the fact that I'm more a supporter of small micro businesses that each one together share the same, kind of do the same business, but each one differently in each location. And this for me is also like the Impact Hub network is not a franchising, but it's an association. So this is also the way we exist. It's about scaling the business, but every hub is independent. And I think this is very important, that you want to maintain the independence to adapt to the local market, but as well you want to pass on the knowledge. And then answering to Claudia's question, I think what we are seeing now, it's, I don't know if I can already give an example, but what I can say is from Portugal, we know that now it's the time to do change, because we were one of those countries that in the last year was very on a hype for tourism, and it it had always this double effect. It improved a lot the condition of the city. And here in Lisbon, 10 years ago, most of the buildings were falling apart. But at the same time, it was kind of borderline to the extreme negative consequences, where
because of the masses, yeah.
Yeah, and also because I think it's still one of those industries that need to be very well regulated, and we saw that there's still not so much sharing about the best practices in different countries. And this, for me, it's something that we all know that Costa Rica has a very great sustainable tourism policy. Why don't we apply it in other places? And here, for me, it's a lot about seeing how we can learn from the others. And for us, with my organization, we're seeing about what is the way we would like tourism to happen here in Portugal. And again, introducing the topic, not only being centralized in the capital, but also being decentralized in the interior and rural region. And this is where I think now technology can bring more,
so
close this gap.
Of technology in your example is that you can go out to the rural areas and that you can connect all the small communities, that they learn from each other. We had in our competition, it was mentioned in my presentation, we had a really good example for social entrepreneurship and problem that was solved through tourism. It is our winner this year. It's from Colombia, an organization that are dealing with regions which are suffering because there were a lot of political problems, and they try to get the locals into the tourism business as tour guides, talking about their experiences and so on. And they have created a worldwide network, which is also really interesting because other regions which are also suffering from, let's say, a completely negative image of being a war region or something like that, can learn from their experiences. They work a lot with universities and things like that. So I think finding the problem you are addressing is one thing in the tourism, to create a solution with tourism for a social problem. But on the other hand, what I'm interested in is, Sanne, if I look at your example, the website really looks great, and I feel like I want to go and experience some of your guided tours. Can the people who are working for the platform live on this, what you have created till today?
Some yes, but also some not. Many of them, it's not their main business. So we, for example, have farm stays. So their day-to-day business is farming, and they just allow people to join and see the process of the farming that they do. So for many, it will never be their 100% income generator. And it really has to do with various influences, varying from what's the location of where the experience takes place, what is the type of experience that they offer, so how popular are these that particular experience. So these are some of the effects or some of the characteristics that define whether an experience is very popular or less popular. For example, I lived in Nairobi for 5 years, and there we had a tour guide that was taking people through his neighborhood and his life, and that one was very, very popular. So he normally earned very little money by selling some kitchen items, and this was something he was doing on the side, and that could easily generate 200 or more USD per month. But as tourism often is also seasonal, often they can then not rely on it for 100%.
And what's about you? So you as a founder of the business, I'm sure you're also working with a lot of people in the background. Can you live on this business, or do you also have a job to make the platform possible?
So at this moment, we are not profitable yet. So I have not been paying myself any salaries. We are still working on that to make that growth. And it was a conscious choice not to go for immediate investment and drive that growth and that speed of growth that many investors require. I therefore chose to see how it would be received and more to grow it organically. And I think when looking back, that was the right decision. Also regarding the timing, as I was mentioning. So we do hope by collaborating with more and more partners, as we can see in the industry that there is more interest, and we are also looking for ways how can we, and exactly what Francesco was mentioning, there are so many great concepts, and nowadays also more and more similar kind of businesses, sometimes really focus on one type of country or one region, that we're all trying to invent the wheel. Whereas I would really be open to see to what extent can we somehow collaborate and join forces and see how we can well drive this.
Sanne, when you are talking about partners and collaboration, so I frankly ask Francesco and Etienne, what about investment? So normally when you are in a startup, you try to get your, let's say, your pitch deck right, that you receive a lot of money to start. So it seems to me that in the social entrepreneurship business, it is not very common that you find an investor for your idea. Like Sanne said, she found cooperation partners, but not really investment that she also can live on that, or her team or whatever. So Francesco, do you have any experiences in if people are investing in social businesses, or if there is, let's say, a lack in something?
No, from my perspective, we don't have the problem of investment. We have the problem of pipeline of projects that we can invest in. So for example, here in Portugal, I can talk about the situation we have this year. There were two big organizations that started doing impact investments. So Maze started an impact investment fund, and they have around 40 million to invest in impact startups. And they did not have enough projects here in Portugal, or they were looking for other in Europe, because they were lacking the pipeline. So there are not enough projects that move from early stage to late stage and that are strong enough to receive the investments. Because the problem, it's not only about giving the money, but making sure that the money is well used. And here it's a lot about social entrepreneurship. You want to have a project that is focused on the social issues, but that is run as a business and it's not a charity. And this is actually where we're seeing that there's need for making sure the projects have the skills, the know-how, and know how to really manage a business.
Yeah. So what do you think? What is a typical KPI? You would say this is something an impact investor would like to hear.
You mean a KPI for impact or for financial?
A KPI for impact.
Well, I think it really depends on the project, but I would say that normally investors still look at the financial. Like the financial is the basis to decide if they're investing or not, because even if it's a social business, if you don't have the financial sustainability, it will die soon. So I think the first KPI they will still look in the 3-dimension is how long will it take for the project to be break even? Because even if it's doing very good, there's still an impact investing fund. They're not giving grants. So I would say the time it takes for the project to be financially sustainable would be the baseline. And then after that, it really depends on the project. But I think impact is also very hard to measure, because it's not something you can, many times it's more qualitative data. So all the impact assessment part is very time consuming and complex phase. So for example, I can mention here in Portugal, we have the Social Innovation Fund, which is a very interesting instrument from the government, where they finance projects and programs mainly that are related with social impact. And there, what happens is you always have a social investor, which is either a foundation or a private corporation, and then you have the government. And what you do is you agree whenever you're designing the program on an impact indicator you would like to achieve. And if you reach that impact indicator, the government is paying 70% of the project costs.
Oh, wow.
And to make sure all these instruments work, every time you need to have an external impact assessment organization entity, which is making sure everything is measured to respect and to be fully objective.
A third party approval from outside. So yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So Etienne, do you have any experiences with impact investment in your business?
Yeah, as SINA, not directly into SINA because we are also not yet profitable, but we are also kind of a hybrid. That means we have the tourism part that brings in income from, we have declared one of our communities as the Social Innovation Museum, where people can get experiences and work together with our social entrepreneurs, as well as accommodating visitors and guests in our own village. But mostly our enterprises have structured investment, or there I can share a bit more our experience. I agree with Francesco that I think the biggest problem is rather the pipeline. I personally have a list of probably more than 10 investors and impact investors who have approached us and said, do you have anything we could invest in? Let me know. But they're not there. And there's a reason for that, because more the traditional investment and also the impact investment, normally they don't start below $200,000. And ideally they want to start at 500 or even more. Like Moment, Social Business start in Uganda, I think at $500,000. So how do you get an average Ugandan to that level that a business can digest $500,000? It's really tough. But on the other extreme, what people mostly need is just sometimes a few hundred, sometimes a few thousand, maybe $10,000, $20,000, and there's almost nothing in terms of investment.
So
but
it's like Yunus, a micro invest. So there is no social, no impact investment on a smaller scale, if I got you right.
There's a couple of people that are trying to prototype something, and we're also developing our own kind of self-organized impact investment fund, because the gap is normally there because the due diligence process is super, super expensive, and it's not very reliable. If a firm from Europe flies over and meets the team for a few days or weeks, they will get a good insight, but they will not really get the details. So what we're trying to do is bring together different models and actually have the investees, the enterprises that we invest in, become part of the fund and also have skin in the game, and then be able to do the selection for others. Because it's seen as like a network where everybody knows each other as well, the selection will be much more, one, it has almost no costs, but secondly, it's probably going to be more reliable than if somebody from the outside does it. Mm-hmm. But I also want to share how our social enterprises have been still without this gap, been able to actually get off the ground, because I see big opportunity, especially I would say for most of the African continent. Similar to the investors, there's a lot of funding available in terms of grants, fellowships, programs, prizes, competitions. And speaking a bit of the kind of digital literacy, if people are able to present themselves well, are able to write a plan or a presentation, the opportunities are there. So I think collectively our social enterprises, which are about 30, 40 that have come out, have won a long list of prizes ranging from sometimes a few $100s to the highest is I think $100,000. And they are there, especially if you're a young African female social entrepreneur. People are looking to support that. And there's less enterprises again coming up than the money.
We had two teams from Uganda. Maybe we should talk about that.
Definitely.
In our competition, and I think one team is a pure female team, and they won a special recognition prize, something like that. I don't have it exactly in mind, but we have people from Ugandan teams. So I think, do you think maybe the information is not clear spread to everybody, that maybe the teams, for example, that were in our competition now, they didn't know that it is there, because it was really about technical knowledge and presenting themselves and presenting a short, like a canvas, yeah, very short, and everybody who submitted something in our competition was really presenting themselves very well. So I'm wondering if they don't know that there are opportunities around.
Yeah, I think there's an information gap, which has worked well for us now that we have a bigger community, so people share between each other and help each other as well with the application sometimes. But also I would say sometimes, often I would say even, people lack the confidence. Maybe they think like, I will not make it through. This is a global competition, or who am I that I can get a chance to get this? So that's why we've invested a lot of time into kind of the overcoming limiting beliefs of the people that we work with, that they're able to believe in themselves and are setting goals and know what they can do or what is possible. And often also maybe they don't sometimes think that they could apply because it's maybe not specifically exactly what people are looking for, but often they can still go through. And a wonderful example was there was a competition around Corona when it started, and one of our social enterprises applied with a mask for people with disabilities that could not hear, hearing impaired people, because they put kind of a plastic sheeting inside that you can see through. So it wasn't really solving Corona or COVID, but it in the end it won, and it was even featured on live TV, BBC, and they won as well some funding to grow this and customers around the world. So if
Wow.
people get the confidence, they will just try, and then they will be successful. I've seen that a lot.
So this leads me to a question I also have here on my prepared sheet. What's about education? So I know that I am doing since 3 years in Germany the only module on social entrepreneurship and innovation in the tourism education in Germany. And I'm wondering if the topic of social entrepreneurship education is something that we are missing everywhere, or do you think online courses could help maybe, or joint courses or hybrid courses, maybe you in Uganda, or you in Portugal, or in Netherlands, or where are you, Sanne, at the moment? In Netherlands?
Yes, we recently moved back. We decided to not go back anymore. So yeah.
Okay. So maybe education is missing.
From my side, yeah, education is the key element, and that's what we're focusing on. First, to get people from difficult, marginalized backgrounds to be able to start an enterprise, and we do this by allowing them to take up responsibilities in our SINA communities, where they're actually in charge of something and running the whole place, and that gives them the skills and experience to then start their own business. And often I think the skills are lacking. It's not so much the hard skills. Like, there's a lot of people with wonderful, great skills, technical skills in terms of, let's say, tailoring or farming or something, but they lack the kind of soft skills of being able to start a business. And that's what they learn in SINA, for example, by actually being part of the business and running it. So in the end, we don't really have staff, but everything is self-organized and self-managed. And we're using a self-organizing tool, Holacracy, if some of you have ever heard about it, which works for us really well as an educational tool as well, to allow people to take up responsibilities. And I think that's key for fostering social entrepreneurship, that the education, no matter where people have come from, if they don't even have, let's say, finished high school, we have many of them, it's not a barrier, but there needs to be the soft skills that they're able to, one, believe in themselves, and also some of the skills of then starting a business, which goes into finance and marketing and production and all that.
One thing is that you can learn something, but another thing is that I also wanted to ask you if you think that people who are like to be an entrepreneur need a special or a special personality to start. Sanne, maybe we can start with you, because you are really an entrepreneur.
Well, I have no clue if you need to have a particular set of skills. I think it all starts with an idea. And if you are very inspired by that idea that you have, that's already a big driver. I'm not a psychologist, and I haven't read any studies regarding that, so I don't know if there is a particular skill set. But what, like, to tap into this same topic, what is lacking? When we looked at, like, when we were like already a couple of years in the whole process, although like the marketplace is accessible to anyone, we still noticed that it was mostly middle class income people or high income class people joining the platform. Mm-hmm. And as the World Bank had mentioned, like, the travel industry is one of the main industries that can lift people out of poverty. We started thinking, okay, what is really lacking? Why people more marginalized communities are not really joining? And we realized, well, and it's a bit logical as well, is one is the internet access, two is the English language skills, and often it's also like a lack of ideas or a lack of understanding what kind of assets or what kind of unique things that they can offer is of interest to travelers. So we knew this is not a market that we can tap into. We are not like an academy, or we cannot provide all trainings on the ground. So we reached out to ActionAid, which is
so this is that you first have to understand what is the product you bring to market, and maybe this is not clear to your community when you want to bring them in. Right?
Yeah, sometimes they even don't realize that travelers could be interested in what they can do. They are just running their day-to-day lives, often farming, or and with the help of ActionAid, we started to look into opportunities for the communities that they work with to see if we can generate income. And that's a pilot that we have planned to start right now in October in Kenya. But of course, with COVID-19, we decided to postpone it a bit. But that's one of the first. We hope that we get out a blueprint of how to involve these marginalized communities into the travel space and to create impact also for them. So that's the ultimate goal, that we can say we create a blueprint and we can replicate or reuse that for various countries to make a deeper impact than the impact that we are currently making.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Francesco. Now we talked a lot about education and the possibility. So Etienne said education is the key element. Are you doing something like an academy, or there are courses in your Impact Hub that people can step in and just learn how to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, actually, I really wanted to back what Etienne was saying. I think it's a lot about the skills and the know-how, and especially about you always have like the entrepreneurship skill and basically the entrepreneur. You need to train a lot about the mindset and what is the soft skills you need to have to make sure the skill set you learn about entrepreneurship are well applied to your business. And here it's the work, it's a lot around capacity building. It's a lot about working on which are the skill sets you need to run your company. And what we do is always try to make sure you have a community, because I think peer-to-peer support and sharing best practices and sharing challenges and overcoming them together is key, by not feeling alone and working with your peers. So this is why we always think a physical space or a digital online community where people can actually interact and talk to each other is key to make the learning process faster. And secondly, it's about those programs or academies, as we mentioned, that focus on supporting the entrepreneurs in going through their learning journey. And here, for example, I can mention we are running now at the moment 4 programs. 2 focus on female entrepreneurship and 2 focus on unemployment, people that lost their job through COVID and want to restart and were maybe self-employed or always had a dream in the job and want to start it now. And we're helping them in creating something which is not only an idea, but is a feasible business. And I say it's very hard. It's very hard.
Sorry, so your last sentence, please.
I was just saying it's very hard, and the numbers are always like it's a funnel. You have lots of people that dream about doing that, then it's a very hard path, and they reduce, and then the ones that actually succeed after a couple of years are 1 out of 10. And this is also the barriers people have to be ready to face when they're starting this this journey.
Yeah, I think so. So we have 10 minutes left, and Joost, I would like to ask you if there are questions in the chat for us now. We need a little bit help, so I haven't read it, but I have a last topic, and this is if each of you can leave us to the breakout sessions or at the end of this common session with a food for thought. That we can give something to the people. We have 42 participants here, something that you would like to give them as, let's say, a motivation for to think about social entrepreneurship and so on. And if you have not prepared something till now, I can start, or who wants to start? We do it like that. Etienne?
I can start. Yeah, something comes immediately to my mind because also I think relevant maybe for some in the audience. When I've been giving lectures as well for social entrepreneurship in Austria, I see a similar challenge. People think maybe they're not ready to start, or they need a lot of money to start, or there's always a reason maybe not to start. And I would just encourage people from our own experience, especially about money and investment. You don't need much money to start. Often what you need are resources. And resources can be within you, your own assets, your own skills. But also in our example, we have a lot of upcycling, recycling enterprises, or seeing ourselves, we have been building our communities out of plastic bottles. And this is a resource that sometimes you can even get paid to collect. Waste can be collected, and sometimes you get paid to collect, and you can use it to do something with it. So just as a food for thinking that you don't need much money to start, and start small and start creating an impact. If you want to teach people or train people, you don't have to build a school. You can start with one person and grow from there, but start.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. This is motivating. Who wants to go ahead?
Actually, I can build on that because I think as the panel is also about technology, this also creates a bit the mindset that everyone wants to create an app or a digital platform. And the first barrier is, where do I find the 100,000 euro I need to build that app? And here I back what Etienne is saying. You need to first validate and see if the projects work and do bootstrapping. And one of the examples I can mention that is very interesting is we have here in Portugal a project that is working on selling all those fruits and vegetables that are too ugly for the traditional market, so the farmers would throw them, and they're managing to sell them to restaurants and to customers. And of course, they needed to have a platform to make sure orders were placed and the deliveries were sent, but they started with WhatsApp groups. So instead of creating already the barrier, we need to have 100K to build this platform. We will start with WhatsApp that everyone has. It's going to be a bit harder and more coordination and administration work, but we test if it's functioning. And I think for me, this is really important, where technology should not be the barrier, but should be a tool and a vehicle to actually support you in the project. So don't think immediately you need to have that 100% ready and done. Just do it, and then you will adapt and fine tune.
Mm-hmm. This is really great. Thank you very much, Francesco. Therefore, because we have a lot already on things on board like WhatsApp, and it's possible to use the tools that we have access to. Yeah, this is really a great thing for potential founders. Start small. Don't be afraid of mistakes and fail early, and take what is there. Sanne, now it's up to you.
Yeah, mine was a bit in the same direction, but if you don't shoot, you can't score. So that's exactly, if you never try, you will never win. So it always starts with an action, and for me, what really helped, and when I look back, I started a bit late. I was trying to completely create a plan and have exactly in mind what my end goal should be, how the company should look like. And I didn't make any progress. So I was still like figuring out, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And then when everything started flowing was because I started talking to people. Although I didn't exactly know why I should talk with them, but for me, like the first things that really helped was defining what are your areas of interest that you want to know more about, and find people who are already have experience or already working in these industries, and make that as a reason to chat with them and better understand, is this really what I think is interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow these things then will start evolving. Sometimes people just know, oh, you should talk to that person, or you should talk to that person. Sometimes it's often things that you cannot really think of beforehand. It just evolves organically. So that's my food for thought.
Thank you very much. You mentioned a really good point. Network is sometimes something what you really need to survive. So now I just followed quickly the last question here, and I think it's a question where each of you can really quickly answer, like one word, one sentence, whatever. So the question is, what means success in the field of social entrepreneurship? Let's start with Francesco, please.
Well, I think, as San said, just doing it is, for me at least, a success, instead of just wanting to work from someone else, just being an entrepreneur and do something on your own. And secondly, I would say successful social entrepreneurs, it's not about the huge numbers, but it's about being true and really respecting all your values and do what you really love. So I think if you're doing it, and it doesn't matter if you're doing good 1, good 100, good 10,000, as long as you're doing something and you're respecting your purpose, your values, and you're making something good.
Doing it. This is good. Success is starting doing it. Etienne, what do you think? What is the success for you?
Yeah, I believe everybody can be a change maker, no matter where you come from, what is your background. And for me, success in social entrepreneurship, it's all about solving a problem. So in whatever way you can do that, and there's many different forms, and also social entrepreneurship is not the only one. There's also activism, there can be art, there can be many ways. But success for me is finding a solution to a problem, and often it can be even a problem that one has faced themselves. So knowing the problem and then being able to find a solution on a small scale, and potentially one day growing it into something that sustains and has an impact while also generating income.
Thank you very much, Etienne. Sanne, what is success for you in social entrepreneurship?
For me, success is indeed being true to myself and really following what I came to do here. But for me, success, and that's really related to our business, is really showing that we are able to make impact at large scale via tourism.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. So we have 2 minutes left. I would like to finish this session with a quote from Steve Jobs. I think he did a really good job in his life. Now Apple is a different thing, but I think he was really an interesting person. He says once, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. I'm sure you know this quote from him, because he started like that, and it was only an idea, and then in the end we see what could happen. It was not a social enterprise, as we all know, but the idea was interesting when he started. So I think I can hand over to Joost now. We can see him again, and we start with the breakout sessions. So I will join the breakout sessions, and I hope we have a lot of discussion there. Thank you very much for this session, for your answers, and for being so open to the audience.